It's fascinating because it gives a glimpse into the mind of this woman who lives this life of immense privilege and yet still finds reasons to be constantly angry and to feel persecuted. Michelle Obama is complaining again on her podcast, which is what her podcast appears to be all about. Let's listen in.
There was a line of people waiting to shake hands with our respective husbands,
Okay.
you know, people like reaching over our heads and spilling water on us, trying to get to these two, you know, illustrious men, you know, and she had the same look on her face as I did. Like, here we go, you know? And I looked over at this beautiful woman. Did we even have a conversation?
Not until later in that afternoon. And that
So
was.
you hadn't met?
We hadn't met.
You just
this
saw
was, you know,
each
kind of
other
But I
at the
just
table,
saw the
yeah.
look on her
Yeah.
face, which expressed the sentiments that I felt, which was
Pissed off.
You know, first of all, I have to ask again, who is listening to this podcast? There are too many podcasts. There are way too many. We need a complete and total shutdown of podcasts until we figure out what the hell is going on. And except mine. Mine can continue, but all the rest, that'd be kind of nice, actually. Just wipe it all. And no one else is allowed to do them, only me. For a little bit, for a period of time. There are certain, this is not, well, maybe not every, because there's certain podcasts that are not part of the problem. Like, okay, so this show, even if you think that my show sucks, which maybe it does, but even if it does, this show's at least a show. It may not be a good show. I mean, I think it's good. I like it. Personally. My mom likes it. So, you know, it's like, there's at least one other person out there who likes the show. And so I'm proud of it. But however you feel about it, it's a show. You know, I have segments, I write out monologues, deliver a point of view about things. Take it or leave it. It's a show. Not the greatest sales pitch. We got to work on the marketing pitch a little bit. I'm not saying I would put that on like the banner ad if we were running ads. The Matt Walsh Show. It's a show. It's a show. What do you want me to do? If you're looking for a show, here's one. So, but it is a show. But now we have this massive glut of podcasts that are not even, it's like, there's no show here. It's just people sitting in a room talking about nothing, rambling, making small talk, talking about nothing at all. Not even interview. Like, I'm not talking interview shows. That's it. Interview shows are also shows. And there are plenty of interview shows that are terrible, but it's at least a show. But it's not even that. It's just people having conversations. Boring, rambling, pointless conversations. Why do they exist? Why would anyone listen? Does anyone want to hear Michelle Obama and I think that's her brother make small talk 3 times a week or whatever the schedule is? Now, there are very few podcasts in this style, in that style, that are actually interesting, right? It's basically like Joe Rogan, Theo Vaughn, Tucker Carlson, and a couple of others, and that's it. Joe Rogan is the master of having a long, wide-ranging, off-the-cuff conversation he doesn't bring any, as far as I could tell, haven't been on the show twice. As far as I can tell, he's like, doesn't even bring any notes into the conversation. But that's what he does. And then it goes to interesting places. And so you'll sit and you'll listen to like this 2.5, 3-hour conversation. Theo Vaughn is really good at it. Tucker is an expert at the craft because there's actual skill involved in doing that well. These guys are highly skilled in the art of the conversational interview. It's not an easy thing to do because here's the thing. Every day across the world, millions of conversations are happening. Millions and millions of conversations are happening all the time. And almost none of them are remotely interesting. Like 99.999999999% of them are not interesting. Studies have shown. Not interesting to an outside observer, that is. Making a conversation, not a traditional interview, but an actual conversation, making it interesting to millions of outside observers is really difficult because conversations almost always tend to only be interesting to the people involved in them and often not even interesting to those people. And the problem is that now you have, millions of people who say to themselves, oh, I like to talk. I like to have conversations. I can be the next Joe Rogan. No, you can't. No, you can't. You like to talk, but you don't say anything interesting ever. So you can't be the next Joe Rogan. And more importantly, you don't know how to draw interesting things out of the person you're talking to. Have you ever come across someone saying that capitalism is evil or something similar to that? Maybe in a video online or on TV or just talking to somebody? What was your reaction if you did? When did capitalism become such a hot button issue anyway? It seems like people have strong opinions about it and very little understanding of capitalism as a whole. Luckily, if you're looking to expand your knowledge and horizons on a broad range of topics, including subjects like capitalism, Hillsdale College is offering more than 40 free online courses. That's right, completely free. I do recommend watching their new course, Understanding Capitalism. In just 7 lectures, you'll learn about the role of profit and loss, how human nature shapes our economy, and why capitalism depends on private property rights, the rule of law, and freedom. You'll also discover why capitalism actually encourages morality rather than undermining it, like today's varying political agendas would have you believe. Understanding economics and capitalism empowers individuals and societies to make informed decisions, evaluate policy impacts, anticipate market changes, and ultimately create more prosperous communities. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/Walsh to enroll in this course, Understanding Capitalism. There's no cost. It's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/Walsh to enroll for free, hillsdale.edu/Walsh. Again, Joe Rogan is a master at that. There's a skill there. There is a skill involved in that. It's a very rare skill. It's not something you can just do. There are plenty of skilled professional broadcasters who can't do that. I mean, I've been in broadcasting for 18 years. Dear God, I've made 2 movies that involve interviews. So I know how to do that. I'm familiar with the general world, but I could never do a Joe Rogan style show. I could be a guest on one. I couldn't host a show like that. It would suck. It would be terrible. I'm telling you right now, definitely, because that's not my skill set. So the arrogance of just thinking that you can turn on a camera and film a conversation with some random person and that it will somehow be fascinating to the outside world, it's outrageous. It's actually outrageous. Every time I hear about a new podcast that's just, we're going to sit in a room and have a real conversation. Real conversations are not interesting. I don't want to hear your real conversation unless you are one of, like, as I said, 5 or 6 people on earth who can have a real conversation that is actually interesting. If you're not one of them, I don't want to hear it. Okay? Which is why when you're like sitting at a coffee shop or something and you can hear a conversation that's happening at a table, it's annoying. That's a real you're not like turning around and listening. Oh, these are real people having a real conversation. I don't want to hear your real conversation. It's boring as hell. I don't want to hear it. So anyway, Michelle Obama is so all that to say, she is not, and maybe other people will come along. You know, that crew of Joe Rogan, Tucker, Theo Vaughn, like that. You know, other people will come along, maybe, who can compete in that space. Michelle Obama is not one of them. She is not one of them. Although her podcast is kind of fascinating, though, in a way, completely by accident. It's not fascinating in the way she intends. It's fascinating because it gives a glimpse into the mind of this woman who lives this incredible life, this life of immense privilege, and yet still finds reasons to be constantly angry and to feel persecuted. You know, now she's talking about the resentment she felt when her husband was getting attention. And the funny thing is that apparently this story she's telling, if you listen to the whole context, which I didn't because I don't care that much, but I read about it. She's talking about from a time, this thing she described was when Barack was in the Senate. So all the way back then, she was resentful of the attention that he was getting. So just imagine how much angrier and more bitter she got once, you know, he was the president. And this is something that men need to watch out for. This is a major red flag that you need to be looking out for, especially if you have big dreams as a man. You know, if you intend to go out and accomplish great things, if you want to be a man of achievement, a man who is admired and respected, which you should want that. Every man should want that. But you need a woman who will support you in that and cheer you on and root for you and be your biggest fan and your biggest admirer. Because there are two kinds of women. There's that type, the type that cheers on her husband, feels proud of him, feels proud of his success, feels proud of the praise and attention that he gets. There's that type. I'm very happy to say I married that type. Thank God. Because the other option is unthinkable. The other type of woman is the type who resents her husband's achievements and secretly roots against him and wants to see him humbled and wants to see him fail, really, and is competitive against him and is envious. And when other people are praising him, she's liable to jump in and say something embarrassing about him, and then will justify that by saying, "Oh, I'm just keeping him humble." No, you're denigrating him and you're tearing him down, and you're trying to deliberately hurt his reputation. And there are plenty of successful men who marry women like this, and it leads to disaster every single time. And Barack Obama married a woman like this. I mean, married a person like this, anyway. If you'd like to see what else I have to say, you can access my full show by going to dailywire.com or by going to the Matt Walsh Show Twitter page. Hope to see you there. Godspeed.